Good. So today we will speak about Techiyas Hameisim. We read wegen den Jonen, we read Techiyas Hameisim. Yeah. So hopefully for the next few weeks we'll talk different pratim in connection to Techiyas Hameisim.
That's good.
So we'll start with one simple shaila. What happens in Islam, a child that passes away before bar mitzvah, and then it comes by Techiyas Hameisim, so the time passed that the child is 13 years from the time of his birth. So there's room to say that because it's after 13 years from when he was born, so the moment he gets up for Techiyas Hameisim, he's a bar mitzvah. He's bar mitzvah already.
Like my son.
How long before the bar mitzvah did he pass away?
17 days.
Wow.
I remember he was twin.
Yeah, it was fun.
So the shaila is whether you have to wait now 17 days from after the Techiyas Hameisim, or gleich immediately by Techiyas Hameisim, enough time has passed since the time of his birth that he's right away bar mitzvah.
How is he going to look?
What?
How is he going to look?
It's exact. The neshama and the guf will be revived by Techiyas Hameisim the exact same way as when the person passed away. If it's a baby that passed away, so then it's a baby that gets up with Techiyas Hameisim. If it's a child, if it's an adult, if it's an... That's not the
Is he going to be mechuyev b'mitzvahs, the baby?
That's the question. So there's a befeirische ha'ara from the Rebbe about this over here. In Lakut Sichis, page 142, page 41. Anyone ever show this to you? Page 142, in Chelik Tezvav, page 142.
Did you think we'll remember?
Page 41. So here the Rebbe says that the child will not be bar mitzvah on the day of Techiyas Hameisim immediately. You'll have to wait whatever amount of time is missing for his years that he lived in Eilam Hazeh to become a bar mitzvah, a year, 17 days, whatever amount of time. You have to wait that amount of time after Techiyas Hameisim. And the Rebbe explains it as follows. Because once the neshama goes l'maylo, there's no zman. There's no zman for the neshama. There's no zman. So the time doesn't add up. You can't combine that time with the time that the person has in Eilam Hazeh. There's no zman. I'll explain so in a minute. There's no zman, says the Rebbe. No zman. When you can't be mitzvah if that's zman, then that's what the Rebbe says in the Pnimei Sikhe. And the Rebbe is meisif another word. The Rebbe says, what says there's no zman? The Rebbe spells out clearly. There's no zman legabe chiyuv of mitzvahs. Not that there's no zman at all. There's no zman legabe chiyuv of mitzvahs. Why not? Because a person is only chayiv in a mitzvah if he's a neshama b'guf. It has to be both the neshama and the guf. So since it's an inyan which is tolui in the neshama being in the guf, so that zman that the neshama is departed from the guf, so that zman, the zman for the neshama, but there's no zman for the neshama in the guf. So therefore that zman cannot be combined for the chiyuv of mitzvahs, which is only for a person which is a neshama b'guf. So in the Ha'ara 41 here, the Rebbe says, if you go according to the opinions, there are two opinions what about mitzvahs. Why dafka 13 years old? There's one opinion that bar mitzvah 13 years old, the Rosh holds bar mitzvah 13 years old is it's a halach l'Moshe Sinai. It's not totally with the inyan of das. It's halach l'Moshe Sinai that the age 13, that's when the child becomes bar mitzvah. Yeah das, no das.
How does the Rosh create halacha l'Moshe Sinai?
Huh? No, he didn't create it. The Gemara says so.
The Gemara says it.
If the Gemara says befeidish halacha l'Moshe Sinai, I don't think so. The Rosh is masber that this age of 13 it comes from halacha l'Moshe Sinai. The Rosh and Rashi.
To say it.
There's one pshat in Rashi also.
I don't see the Gemara.
Then there's other Rishonim. That say that has nothing to do with halacha l'Moshe Sinai. At the age of 13, that is the time that Roiv people become a bardas. So therefore the Torah was kaveh, that 13 is the age. So needless to say, if the point is that at the age of 13 you become a bardas, and the neshama departed the guf, when it was 10 years old, and then it comes back into the raw by Techiyas Hameisim as a 10-year-old child, So it's not a bardas yet. The person is not a bardas. You have to wait 3 years. The Rebbe says, even if you say that it's Allah Moshe Misina, it's just a matter of passing that time of 13 years, and then you become bar mitzvah automatically, whether there is das, whether there isn't das, but still, the concept of time as it relates to a neshama begof, because a mitzvah is only chayv in neshama begof, doesn't exist legabe the person when it's not in the guf, so you have to wait the time after he leaves his
Which
guf.
means that when a person has Techiyas Hameisim, he's going to be in the same stage that he was when he died.
Yes, correct. Exactly the same.
Before a baby's born, we count 40 days, let's say, that we say. So it shows there's time before when there's a neshama without a guf.
Mhm.
There is a concept of 40 days. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there is a concept of zman. So
Right.
yeah, so
We're not counting
This
that
is-
for other things. We're not saying that.
Right.
Was born
so this is the word that the Rebbe says over here. Now there is a Magen Avram. There's a Magen Avram. Magen Avram wrote a pirish on Medrash. It's called Zayis Ranon.
Very
And-
famous.
Yeah.
Very famous.
Yeah, so in his Pirish on the Medrash, in the Medrash it talks about Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was Lamaila. The Medrash asks, how did Moshe Rabbeinu know when he went up Lamaila, 40 days after Matan Torah? How did Moshe Rabbeinu know when's day and when is night? So the Medrash answers, depends on what the Eibusha was learning. This is what the Eibusha learns by day, what the Eibusha learns at night. He was able to see if it's day or night. So in the Zayis Ranon, the Magen Avram asks, who says Moshe Rabbeinu did know? Maybe he didn't know. So he answers the Magen Avram because Moshe Rabbeinu had to know when to daven. When to daven Shachris, when to daven Mincha, when to daven Ma'ariv. So he had to know when's day and when's night.
Who said he davened?
Oh, so does mashma that even when Moshe Rabbeinu went Lamaila, so there was the Inyan of Zman. Even Lamaila and Ruchnis, there was the Inyan of Zman. He davened Shachris, he davened Mincha, he davened Ma'ariv. So Chayre would seem like he's saying something different than what the Rebbe says, that in the Neshama Lamaila there's no Zman b'yachas to Torah or mitzvahs. But L'chayre it's
went
not.
up with his guf.
Oh, L'chayre the point is that Moshe Rabbeinu went up with Gufay. Moshe Rabbeinu went up Lamaila with his guf, whatever that means. But Moshe Rabbeinu went up Lamaila with his guf,
Why
like
can't,
Rav
why
Shua
can't
ben
you,
Levi and by Eliyahu Novi.
why can't you say by like Eliyahu? Eliyahu
Yeah.
went with the goof. He's in one stage. Whenever Eliyahu goes upstairs, he goes without a goof. So he stayed. When he comes in, he's mislabish with
Slavish in a guf. There's a nitzvah of Eliyahu Novi that comes, and then there's Eliyahu Novi himself, which is in a guf. Okay.
Ich will ja Sefer, ich hoffe, es ist zu, es mit Chemis am Deutschen, also Pschim bin ich hei, hat spaziert in Ganeden, 12 Tage mit Beguf, mit allen Sachen, und dann gar nicht in Teres, nicht gewusst als...
B'chayev.
Ja, nicht mit Mäuse, sicher mit Mäuse. Ich hoffe, es der erste und zweite, da kam Chemis am Deutschen. Also ich kann
Ja.
sagen,
Was mit Rabbi Shomalem? Rabbi Shomalem, ja, der
hätte ich kommen zurück, hätte ich kommen zurück, das ist gleich nicht. Schon mal ich sehe doch, hätte ich gar nicht kommen. Das ist Rabbi Lanosse. Die können machen Kaddish und dann
Kiddush,
gehen zurück. Und gemauert doch mit dem Gott, der Jofi, mit Hamuda ist.
Yeah. Okay, so the mice is, as I said, the Rebbe says here that what?
Ja,
You're
ja.
right from his kiddush. That's a kiddush. That's a big kiddush.
I think so, right?
Und er war so gelernt 20 Jahre.
Ja, ja, ja.
His family was Yaitse Kiddush. That's a big
Nicht
kiddush.
wissen. Sie kommen machen einen Job.
Yeah.
Die kommen machen Kiddish. Jetzt nicht Rabbi Lanosse macht nicht keinen Jokes.
Good. But the Rebbe is saying this word here that there's no zman for the neshama after it leaves the gov, only biyachas to Torah and mitzvahs, because Torah and mitzvahs has to be dafka neshama beguf. So this is a time where the neshama is not in the guf. So that zman is the rechetzich. It doesn't add up. It doesn't not part of the zman of the person. Person as a whole is only neshama beguf. L'gab biyachas to neshama beguf. There's the zman, but not. But that doesn't mean that there's no inyan of Zman at all beneged to a person that passes away. There's a lot of Makaitis for this, that there is an inyan of Zman beneged to after a person passes away. There's the famous, first of all, okay, but let's start before that. There's a famous Gemara in Ksubas. The Gemara in Ksubas talks about the Shaila of Yesh Bagir Bakever and Em Bagir Bakever. It's the Lashon Rebbe brings it in a lot of places where you have the din of a naira which someone was mizana with a naira, and the father gets the knas. But the father only gets the knas when she's a naira, after she becomes a begeres, which is 6 months after the 12 years old, the father doesn't get it. So what happens if she passes away before she became a begeres? She passed away while she was still a naira. But now it's already 6 months later. And the Bezdin didn't paskin yet. Bezdin didn't paskin yet. Now, when Bezdin paskins that this person's chayiv to pay the money, it's already after she's 12 years and 6 months. She's already a begeres.
So that's not the same, because here you say that the father of the schus, Bezdin is just have to migale.
No, but the Maise is, I hear you.
Oh,
no, ich habe gesagt, aber the Maise is, but by Knas, the chiyuv wird nicht schadisch by the psak. It's not considered a mafreya. No, the psak is mechadish.
Not by the mice, it's by the psak.
Right, the psak, knas, that's like knas. It's mechadish the chiyuv then. So the shaila is, do you say that even though it's already 6 months after her being a naira, but because she passed away, so she's considered to be a naira forever? Yeah, she's in the state of a naira. It doesn't change. Or no, yesh bager bakever, and now it's 6 months after she became a naira, so she's a begeres, and the father doesn't get the knat. It's a machlekes in the morning ksubis. So the feirische machlekes. So what's the pshat of this machlekes? Why is there a machlekes about this? Because the shaila is this: how does a girl become a begeres? Is it just a matter of time? If it's just a matter of time from the day she was born, so then it's that amount of time from the day she was born. Whether she is beguf, whether she's not beguf, doesn't make a difference.
So then you can
if you're looking just at the Yom HaLeida, the day her Yom HaLeida is the day she was born, and then 12 years plus 6 months later, automatically she becomes a begeres. It doesn't make any difference with a guf, without a guf. Nothing has to.
So then you're going to say the same thing by a bar mitzvah.
No. No. By a bar mitzvah. So 1 second. Let me just finish a point over. The other shitta holds becoming a begeres, just like becoming a naira, it's totally in simoni haguf. It's something which physically changes in the body of the person. The same thing, 6 months later, becoming a begeres is also something that's totally in a physical change of the body. So after she passes away, that's not shaykh. So the point that you see over here is, if you are just talking about the amount of time that passed from the day of the birth, of course the concept of time continues even after a person passes away. If you're talking about something that's negeya to the guf is there's a kvura. It's not negeya to the guf. It's not shaykh the union of zman anymore. So when you talk about bar mitzvah is totally in the guf. Whether the das that the person has in his brain and his intellect and his understanding, which is inyan that's totally in the guf, or you're talking even if it's halacha l'moshe misinai, but it's still kiyum mitzvahs, which is what bar mitzvah is about, is only shaykh to a neshama beguf. So therefore you can't, by a bar mitzvah v'achal kulam, you can't be mitzad of this man when he passes away. By the union of a begeres, because a begeres is this two tzdadim, whether it's totally just in the amount of time that passed from the day of his birth, or it's totally in a shinui in the guf. That's why there's a machlekes about it. So that's why we talk and know that there's a concept of a yard site. The day that the neshama passes away, that's something that's every year. There's a yard site. This man matters. The day, because the yard site, you're not commemorating anything about the guf. You're commemorating something about the neshama. This is the day that the neshama went l'maylo. There's an aliyah that the neshama had on this day. And every year when that day comes back, the neshama has an additional aliyah. So the yard site is commemorating something in connection to the neshama, not in connection to the guf. The same thing we know by us, that we celebrate even the Yom HaLedes of a person after the neshama passes away, after the person passes away. There's a lot of places.
Even by Stam people? Or
yes, even by Stam people. Even by Kamuvim, by the Rabbeim, the Indian of Yom HaLedes is a bigger Indian, because the Yiridus, again, what are you really celebrating by a birthday? You're celebrating the birth of the guf. Yes, while the person is alive, you celebrate a birthday, you're also celebrating the guf that became a year older. But the emes celebration of a birthday is the day that the neshama came down. Just like by a yard site, it's celebrating the day that the neshama had an aliyah. This is the day that the neshama began its mission in this world. The Yiridus neshama lamata. So the Yiridus neshama lamata is an occasion that you celebrate even after the neshama leaves this world.
So maybe the whole concept of L'mayla Mezman is only shaykh by the Rebishter, nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of L'mayla Mezman is only shaykh by the Rebishter, not not by anything which they get to Nivroin, even down in Shomis.
Well, when you're talking about
That's what comes out.
Lamaila and Gan Eden, there's no Zman. Lamaila, Gan Eden is a place which is higher than Zman.
Yeah, but
There's
the Neshama is
a,
waiting for that Yotzai, the Yotzai, she's going to go higher in a level. What is she waiting? What is she waiting? What is the Neshama?
In other words, the
waiting?
Neshama is in a place which
It's
is
getting
Lamaila and
impact.
Zman.
But it's still getting
If it's
impacted
an
by
Amalim
Zman.
Nazman, what is he waiting for to become
He's
the
saying
day
it's
of the
getting
Yotzai?
impacted by Zman.
I hear you.
So obviously
Okay.
it's only by the Rebbeinu Shalom.
I wouldn't say that. But,
Why are you saying that Gan Eden is higher than Zman?
Because I was just going to mention, because I'm not 100% sure the source of this, but I think it's a W. that Cheshbon, when you get to when Yitzchak gave birth to Yaakov and Esav. So according to one opinion, even though in the Pasuk it says that he gave birth to them when he was 60 years old, the MS, he gave birth to them when he was 62 years old. Because if not, it doesn't. If you're not going to say that, it doesn't stem with the Cheshbon that it says later that Esav was Yotza l'tar b'sura when he was 15 when Avram passed away. The Chayr is Yotza l'tar b'sura when he was 13. I can't remember the whole Cheshbon now, but there's one opinion that the MS he gave birth when he was 62. It says in the pasuk he gave birth when he was 60. So the answer is because after Kedah, Yitzchak was in Gan Eden for 2 years, waiting for Rivka to be 3 years old. And those 2 years that he was in Gan Eden does not count in his age. Not counting his age, his son.
Okay.
So you see that in Gan Eden, when you're in Gan Eden, there's not dinner from Zman, it's not shaykh there.
No.
Huh?
He wasn't in.
It was not the
It
cash.
wasn't in his gulf.
He wasn't in the
Not
Gulf
the
for those 2
Gulf,
years.
so
Saying that
Yeah.
the Indian Zman is shaykh there, but he wasn't in
Has
his
to be
gulf, so we don't include it in
In
the
the age of his body.
in the age of his body.
Right. We're not
And the
including-
pasuk is talking about the age of his body.
Yeah.
Okay, Chet. I hear what you're saying.
Adam Rishon was at first in Gan Eden, right?
Yes, and
Was
this is
it
his man.
And Shabbos was
Yeah,
coming.
you're right. I hear you. So
But a different
Chet,
type of
yeah,
Gan Eden,
okay.
What?
What?
That's a different type of Gan Eden.
Yeah,
but we
what,
normally speak Gan Eden.
That's
Right.
a Gash Mystic Gan
It was a
Eden.
Gash Mystic Gan Eden. So
That's a Gan Eden here. There is a Gan Eden on this earth.
some sort of Gash Mystic place.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move up to another point here, which is we have the premise over here that after a person passes away, his age, time still matters. Gabi birthday, the Gabi yard site, only the bar mitzvah we know not. But let's talk about other things.
So there is aliens to celebrate Yom Haledes of a parent.
Yes, absolutely.
You're celebrating.
You see it done?
So when you're celebrating what?
I've never seen it done.
Yeah,
It's usually-
I have.
party?
I have. I mean, it's
What is
not.
it?
What?
What do you do?
No, you don't. Nobody celebrates
It's like
parents.
Al-Chaim.
Nobody celebrates parents.
But there's no reason why not. Du bist nur da, wie bald dein Tat ist rausgekommen in der Welt auf der und der Tag. What are you celebrating?
Yeah, but
You're
people
celebrating
do
the
it.
day that he began his shlichus in this world. So when you talk about the Rabbeim's Yom Haledes, Chayel, Chav Cheshvan, you're celebrating the day that this Rebbe began his mission, his shlichus in the world, which is in your nitzchi, and it's a much greater thing. But for you, for your father, for your family,
But
for
do
yourself,
people do it?
this
I'm
is the day.
asking, You've seen people do this?
Yeah,
What's the
I-
makor? What's the sauce on this? Is you saying
what?
it and your feelings?
No, it's a science to state, klar.
I wish it is.
What? That you should celebrate Yom Haledes after a person passes away?
Yeah.
State.
You got your research up your last time.
Okay. Okay, so let's take another thing. There's a halacha called Erechen. Yeah? Erechen. Parshas B'chukaisai, there's a Masechta called Erechen. By Erechen, the age is the only thing that you look at the value.
Right.
The
The age.
Rebbe regarding saying capital Tillim on somebody's Yom Haledes.
Yes.
Continues growing, and the Rebbe gives a whole few letters that
Well,
continues
the
saying
Rebbe
Tillim,
says to continue saying the capital of the Friedrich Rebbe.
which shows the idea that
But the Rebbe is different.
But that's a ruchnistic Inyanim. It's not a gashmistic Inyan. I don't know.
that
Okay.
the age thing, the age is continuing.
Erechen. So when you get to Erechen, it's
Right.
where the age matters.
Doesn't matter
So
if you're a Gibber or a week.
what happens if a person says that the erech of this person that passed away, which is when he passed away, he was 80 years old. It's the day he passed away. Now, sorry, let's do another example because
It's 59.
yeah, gotta go younger.
Peaks at 60.
Right, it peaks at 60, right? So I have to go younger. When he passed away, he was 40, and today it's 20 years after he passed away, and I say I'm giving the erech of this person, and now If I look from the day that he was born, he's 60 years old. 60 years old. So what do you look at the Erech over here?
You need a Hamad, you need a Hamad Bedin. He needs to be.
Oh, so the Meister says, there's a
Maybe it's
Gemara,
zero,
there's a,
because he's
in
not
the
alive.
Teres Kainim, there's a the Teres Kainim dash is V'hamidoi HaKayin. Because it says V'hamidoi, it's only a person that's alive, and if not, if you say the Erech of this person that's not alive, it's a garnish, because he's not alive.
Right.
What do you see here? Without this pasuk that it says V'hamidoi, there would have been an Inyan of Erechin, even for a person that passes away, and that the Zman after he passed away would maybe be mitzdaref to the age, maybe. So that's Mefarshim discussed that. What's the pshat in this miyut of the Teres Kainim? Does it mean that you would have to pay the age that he was on the day he passed away? That's when it peaks out for Erechin, because Erechin is the guf, Erechin is connected to the guf. But on the other hand, you see it's not connected to the guf because it's just a number of years. Whether a person is a gibor or he's a cholosh, doesn't matter. If it goes according to the age, regardless of how strong or so you see it's not totally in the value of his guf. So that's the suffix of when you get to Erechin. Is it an Indian that's connected to the guf or just the time? If it's just the time, so then it shouldn't make a difference if he's alive or not. That's the din of Erechin. Another example, interesting example, is not only when you get to a human being. When you get to Korban Pesach, next week's parasha, it says a Korban Pesach has to be, the behemoth has to be a ben shana. So the Gemara in Zvachim says a very interesting thing. When it comes to the din that the Korban has to be a ben shana, so usually by a person, the din of age, there's no hours, doesn't matter. Shois don't matter, doesn't matter. It's the day. But the Gemara says by kotchim, by karbonus, shois, meinen shois bekotchim. The hour matters. So if you know that the behemoth was born on a specific day, in a specific hour, the Gemara discusses what happens if the shchita was before it was a year old. The zrike was after it became a year old.
The Zrika is
So-
Zrika carbon, no?
Okay, so that's the Gemara discusses this. So what do you see over here? That the Zman of Ben Shana, when you get to the behemoth, continues even after the behemoth was shechted. Even after the behemoth was shechted, the time continues. Why? Because over here, Kanira, the Zman of a year old for the behemoth is not totally in the guf, that the guf has to become bigger, the guf grows at a certain age. Nothing to do with the guf. Has to do with the neshama. With the Zman. I mean, it's about neshama by a behemoth, but has to do with the time that the behemoth came into the world. Whatever it is. Another two details, another two examples. Mila, if a child passed away, Rahman al-Tzam, before the bris milah, before 8 days old, and then after Techiyas Hameisim, so what happens? You have to wait the amount of the few days that you would have to wait for the milah, or the child, you can do the bris milah right away if the time passed after the child passed away. So the answer is, it's totally what the reason is we b'chlal wait 8 days from milah. There's the Gemara in Nida that says the reason why you wait 8 days is because the tumah of a isha after Leida Zohar is a week. So the Gemara says, Shalayir kulam smeichim v'ave v'ima yatzevim. That the mother is still the tumas Leida, so she's still otzev. So therefore we wait the time that the mother should be tahira. So if that's the reason, so after Techiyas Hameisim, so the time passed. The bats under the bris should have been done the day the baby's born. You just want the mother not to be at seva, so you can do the bris the moment
That's
the
the
Techiyas
reason
Hameisim
why
happens.
there's a mitzvah of Yom HaShmini.
That's what's mashma the Gemara Nida. Yeah, but then there's the famous Moira Nevuchim. The Rambam says in Moira Nevuchim that the reason you wait 8 days is because the body of the child is too weak to do a bris right in the beginning. So therefore you wait 8 days. So if the Techiyas Hameisim of the baby will be in the same matzav as when the baby passed away, so then you're going to have to wait the
Same
amount of
matzah
time.
doesn't mean weak. The baby's not going to be
Same-
sick when the baby...
Well, not sick. It's only with sickness. It has to do with the body when it comes into the world. The immune system didn't develop yet. Whatever it is, it's not.
If somebody has an undeveloped immune system when Moshiach
Yeah.
comes, he's not going to have that issue.
This is not an issue. This is like the nose is small, the immune system is small. It's not.
I thought they make a bris, he is dead, the baby. In Israel, the guy got killed, they made him a bris, they called him a miyet. What do you mean? So sure make a bris. The name it, the name it.
Okay.
Yeah, the name after a malach. That's what I heard.
Amir.
Kippus dam.
Amir.
Kippus dam. If the
But they make the
Kippus dam.
breeze.
Yeah, I think so.
Sure.
Right, you're gonna have to go out Tafas Dam this later because you can't be Mekayim the mitzvah on a Guf Mace.
When they do it, the fact is they do it.
Okay, one more. Let's finish off with one more thing. Pidyon
Not
Ben.
a Yom HaShmini, it's whenever.
Pidyon Ben. How about Pidyon Ben? If the child passes away before 30 days and then the child Techiyas Hameisim, Pidyon Ben, do you have to wait or not? So
do
here,
Yeah, you don't feel pity.
Do you have to do a pidyon
That's
ben?
the
There's no chiyuv.
that is the shaila. So number one, shaila is do you have to do a Pidyon Ben because the child was a nafel. So the Peterechem, the child that was born, was a nafel. So Techiyas Hameisim is a new thing. That's a chikir b'fnei atzma. Whether you become chayiv in Pidyon Ben, but if you're chayiv in Pidyon Ben, would you have to wait or not? So this is a famous machlokes Rashi and Taisus. Rashi holds the whole thing of 30 days is because you have to wait to know that it's not a nafel. You have to wait to find out that the child is be'emes chayiv, not a nafel. Yeah, bar kayom. But Taisus says no. Taisus brings a raya from the Gemara that the din that you have to wait 30 days is exeidus hakosov. It has nothing to do with it. Bar kayom, and the raya Taisus brings is a very geshmak raya because what happens if a person did pidyon ben before 30 days, and then the child became 30 days old? Now this batter that the child was a bar kayom, does the pidyon ben that you did before 30 days count or not? The answer is it doesn't. Why not? Zaktaisis is a raya that 30 days is not just to know that the child is a bar kayama, but it's exeidus hakosov. So you need this amount of 30 days.